Hello, and welcome. Another episode of Top Corner Talk here. We got myself, Charlie. We have Jeremy and Oscar. No Mo tonight, sadly. That's all right. We're going to try to keep this one probably about an hour show tonight. Let's jump straight into it. St. Louis City SC played Aston Villa, the first time a World Cup champion has stepped foot in Energizer Park. Of course, being Emiliano Martinez, who won with Argentina in 22. Initial reactions to the match, guys. What are we thinking?
Exciting to see a club like Aston Villa at Energizer Park. First time a Premier League team had graced the pitch there, so that was exciting. The only other previous international friendly for club teams was Bayer Leverkusen back at the start of the franchise. But overall, an entertaining match, some goals, which is what we wanted to see. I think for the most part, also no injuries, so a win on that front. And overall, for me, it was a fairly entertaining and successful night on the pitch. What do you think, Oscar?
Oh, you're muted. I kind of agree with everything. I mean, I kind of agree with what you're saying. It was very nice to see a nice quality squad in the pitch. And, yeah, of course, it was not St. Louis City SC. It was Aston Villa with a lot of good players, some of them that you would pay good money to see him on the pitch, obviously, in the middle of a league game, like not a friendly match. Like obviously it takes a little bit of it, but it was fun. I had fun with having Emi Martinez close to me and being able to hear a little bit of my shoutery and just giving it a hard time here and there in Spanish. But I mean, all jokes and not set aside. Like, it's not, he knows that nothing was what it was being said to him. It was nothing that he's never heard before or something that he would take serious or anything like that. He knows that that's part of soccer. So for all the ones that they were posting on the Facebook groups that there were people yelling at Emmy things, they can calm down a little bit. It wasn't bad. So, but it was fun. It was fun to watch.
For sure. Yeah. It was a great match. I was up in the press box, actually wrote a article about it. You can check that out on youthmedia.com. Just wrapped up the summer of stats, so no more daily articles. I think we lost Jeremy for the time being, but that's all right. We'll roll with it. There's been some rumors flying around. So we have the Aston Villa match, some rumors, and then also a breakdown of the Nashville SC preview we're going to get. Just real quick, let's jump into what we thought. There was two different squads that went out there basically for the Aston Villa match. You had your first starting 11, which mostly consisted of your regular starters, I believe. Let me pull up. Do you have the exact list, Jeremy? Or
give me 2 seconds and I can. I don't have it. Oh, you got it? Yep, great.
It was Roman Berkey, Conrad Vollum, Timo Baumgartel, Hazio Larosco, Devin Padelford, Edward Leuven, Thomas Ostrak, Sangbin Jung, Marcel Hartel, Celia Pompeu, and Xiao Klaus. They started off the match, played a first 45, and ended up getting subbed out after half. A whole new starting 11 was Ben Lunt, Alfredo Morales, Kyle Hebert, Makai Joyner. Making his City debut is Falou Fall, number 95. Brendan McSorley, Chris Durkin, who actually donned the captain band, Simon Betcher, Thomas Totland, Jake Gerbenreich, and Cedric Teufgert. Those were the players that came in there. And then towards the end, there were some subs. Tyson Pierce, Joey Zielinski, Miguel Perez, and Josh Yarrow all got some time, I think, in the 86th minute. Considerable stuff here as the first team struggled. The first 45 minutes, it looked like a Premier League team versus an MLS team, right? You had second half, some Aston Villa starters coming on, some Aston Villa starters coming off. You saw Ollie Watkins actually come on in the second half. A lot of their starters coming off as well, and Emiliano Martinez coming off as well. So you had a little bit of a mix of quality players for Aston Villa, but I think even their bench players are still extremely quality and skillful players. The second half was much better. They actually got a goal. Cedric Toyshirt in the, I think it was close to the 68th minute or something like that, something around there. Let me check it out right now. So Toykert gets his first goal. He got the goal in the 59th minute. The second team doing a little bit better. What do you guys take away from that? The second team, maybe some younger guys, maybe some starters you don't see in the starting 11 a ton. What do you guys think of them performing the way they did?
It's exciting to see. You really want to see that. So we've been talking for weeks. I think we've been wanting to see fire from this team, right? We've wanted to see them have an energy and to really have that, like, let's go all out, let's attack, there's nothing to lose mentality. And I think you saw that from the second team. Now, the one thing I do want to say is I don't think we should have had that goal. They should have called Durkin for a foul because he fouled the Aston Villa defender or midfielder right in the lead up, in the build up to that. So in a regular game, that is not going to stand. But that all said and done, it was nice to see Joyner. I think Joyner grew into it. He picked up that quick yellow, but he had some nice moments. And again, overall, I think whether the first team, I kind of expected them to struggle. They didn't break the high press. They didn't get into the game much at all, but really happy with the second team. Oscar, what about you?
I mean, it was good. I don't make too much out of it. I think, yes, they have the attitude. They have, well, we all know, like, the young ones are gonna go hard and they're gonna show the energy. They're gonna show the passion. They're gonna show that they have what it takes to be in the team. But I mean, also, like, Aston Villa, when they wanted to raise the pace, they were doing it. They had a good mix in the second half with Cash and Digne on the left, Tillmans and Watkins. So they have a good core when they decided to play hard and play fast. The tempo was overwhelming City. They did it in the first half, and in the second half was the same thing. To the point, like, I mean, Cash, when he made that cross to Oli Watkins' goal, it was just, they made a decision. We're going to attack, we're going to make a good cross, and we're going to try to score, and they did it without any really problems. Like, and not to blame anybody, obviously, there was a mistime ball from JGR, but he attacked the ball the wrong way, letting Watkins obviously having a header by itself. But in general lines, I think it wasn't that bad of a show. I think because it was a friendly, obviously Aston Villa didn't want to run us through, but there were some players that they did show good stuff, good things that we were expecting from them, or we want to see from them. For me, it was very happy that Toyshirt scored a goal, whatever it was, but it was like, we talked about it last week. Toyshirt needs a goal. Toyshirt needs an ugly goal. He needs a pretty goal. Whatever it is, he just needs a goal to get some confidence back, to get things going. And I think that was a perfect show of, you have no pressure because the game didn't mean anything. And he went through the motions, had a good shot, plays it very well. That he has been struggling this year on placing the ball correctly. So that was really good in that end. And in the first half was just a regular City game, in my opinion. Like, they overwhelmed us with pressure. They took us back over there, and we were able to handle as much as we could, that we only let one in. So for a quality, the way that they were attacking, I think they could have one or two, maybe three, but we end up being the 1-0 that we always say, like, hey, we hold and we hold and we hold and we hope that we don't break. And I think it was just another show of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it makes me think the young players performing. You talk about the young players always coming with the fire, and I think we also talk about how that fire is what the team needs. So I think if you put 2 and 2 together, I'd like to see more young players get time with the team, with the first team. I mean, you've already seen it. Pardon me. Haziel Orozco made that jump. Jaden Reed made the jump last season, but really has been in a weird limbo recently. Jay Reed, Akil Watts, Jonde Silva, and Caden Glover were the only players that did not touch the field versus Aston Villa who were suited up. Jay Reed at left back has been kind of paved over by Haziel Orozco and Devin Paddleford and Conrad Vollum. I don't know if there's a space for him right now, especially with his defensive woes recently, but he's been playing well with City too. What makes me think is that, you have the U22 initiative roster, right? You have that kind of roster construction. And the players that are in that U22 initiative, JGR, Chris Durkin, Sangbin, and then that's it. Fall actually falls into that category. I believe that's what Spot Rack is showing me right now. But I mean, I think you're seeing some success there, but you're not seeing like Mackay Joyner was linked with a British Championship League club earlier in the summer. He's definitely getting interest from other places. Is there not a worry that you're not going to utilize him and he's going to leave? Because Mackay Joyner has been the best player in MLS Next Pro for the past 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. I would say he's your most promising player in the organization. You haven't given him consistent time. You acquire Sangbin.
What do you want time for Joyner if you know you're going to sell him?
Well, I'm saying at this point, if you're going to, it doesn't make sense to keep him down. If you're going to sell him, it doesn't make sense to keep him down if you're not going to sell him, because I think a team that wants to transfer or acquire a guy wants to see them at the highest level they can play at, rather than seeing them in the 3rd division and not the 2nd division. I also think at a certain point, it feels like you're not utilizing him. It feels like you have a diamond in the rough at City 2 and you're just ignoring it.
I think they already know that they have something in the works, that it's not worth to force him to go through anything that could affect his performance or could affect his image or his health. Because let's be real, he has been the best player in MLS Next Pro, like you said, but the moments that he plays on the first team, he's not as influential. Obviously, because he's young. Obviously, because he needs experience and minutes. Yes, I'm not doubting that he has the talent. But do you want him to go through 4 or 5 games where he has a lot of minutes and he's not influential, and then the older people that are looking at these players say, well, maybe not? Or have the image of your player that you're going to sell because you let's be real, like they have so many contacts already that they are most likely selling them at the end of the year. So do you want them to have a good image of him on a regular image? I think they want to have the best image possible to get the most out of it. They did the same thing with the 15-year-old Aaron
Hurd.
Aaron Hurd. He never made it to the main team because why to force a kid to get to that point where they knew already it was a path for him? I don't see the point with.
That's fair. And you talk about the players getting substantial minutes. Honestly, if it's up to me, Mackay Joyner is not going anywhere. I'd say he's untouchable. I'd say that's the only player that's untouchable in your roster if it's up to me.
Can't do that. No, you can't do that. Not in the MLS.
I think with that right now, he is the future of the club. You've marketed him with City 2. You've shown he's the headstone. He is the key player. He is the superstar of City 2. To just depart like that would be, I think, very odd of a decision to make. I think if you look at the players who have eaten up minutes and not done anything, Simon Betcher has 1 goal in his last, 7 matches, and he's played over 45 in 5 of those matches. You look at Cedric Toyshirt, he hasn't scored since, May, and he's been taking up substantial minutes. I'd rather have a kid develop and have those woes rather than having your transfers from last year struggle with the first team and have those woes. You look at Shao Klaus, he had a scoreless streak going back to last season before he scored early this season. like you're having your designated player now take up minutes and not doing anything with it. I think if you're going to have the U22 initiative roster, you should actually focus on your young players.
I get what you're saying, but then this is a whole other conversation about roster management, because I mean, and you're going to have to either make room through an outgoing transfer, because we're full right now. Obviously, you know this. We can't just throw him in because of the MLS's restrictive roster rules. Here's the only other thing I want to say about Joyner, and I disagree that he's the future of the club, because to me, the future of this club is selling him on and reinvesting that money. You're not going to keep Joyner long term. Trust me, as much as I would love to say he's that guy and we're going to build with him as that guy, the MLS isn't at that level. The MLS is a selling league. You develop talent and you sell it on. Joyner is going to be the first bigger outgoing that we should have, in my opinion. And to Oscar's point, I agree with you. You don't want to bring him up and have him struggle and hurt whatever value you can get. Right now, his value is high because he's basically outrunning everyone in next pro. So I understand the desire to keep him, because yes, hell, it would be great for the fans. We've been clamoring to see Joyner all season. But I just don't see him here long term, because that's not what's best for him, and it's not what's going to be best for St. Louis, in my opinion.
Well, I think going into next year, you have serious chance for complete revamp. You have 17 players with club options or buy options that could potentially leave, right? You could potentially have 17 players. It's not going to be all 17 of them, but you're going to have a considerable amount of players departing after the season. And that's when you have time. You're going to have Klaus switch from DP to TAM, right? You're going to have him switch from designated player to total allocation money, right? If you're going to have that happen, and then there's been talks about Roman Berkey leaving, that would open up another designated player spot. Is Berkey designated player? I forget.
Berkey, no. Berkey got bought down. He's a TAM. The only two DPs we have right now are Hartle and Klaus.
Yeah, honestly, I think if you're not going to take advantage of the young guys, then I don't know why you're having the U22 initiative model. If you turn away from the U22 initiative, because there's been some reports that the next guy out could be Jake Gerwood-Reich. We had some stuff come up, the amazing account, it cracks me up all the time, Tom Booger, reported on a possible rumor. But,
well, let's not get into that yet.
I mean, honestly, if we're talking about roster construction, I think it's a perfect time to get into that.
There's also, well, the thing is, like, you guys think, like, hey, you're just randomly, you're just going to put all your young players and start playing. And, I mean, the MLS doesn't work that way because we know the rules and all that. But at the same time, like, someone just posted, I think it was Caleb, put in there, like, our roster management is crap. Yes, it is crap, because since you mentioned Betcher, for example, why did we buy Betcher? Give me solid reasons why we bought Betcher.
At the time,
we
Klaus
have
was
none, right?
Well, so before we made the investment, again, it's $250,000, so it was a small fee. But at the time, Klaus wasn't performing. Toykert was still struggling. We didn't have a right winger. We haven't really had consistent play from Celio. So we had a need to and for all we know too, and I don't know this because I don't know, but I'm assuming there was a deadline, just like there was with Horn's deal, where you have to execute the purchase option by a date. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, I think it was June. But so my issue is, like, because I'm gonna give, like, the right for what Charlie wants. If you are building a squad with the idea of the U-22 initiative and bringing your academy players up and giving that opportunity, that was the perfect opportunity to get Joyner as a first-team player instead of Betcher.
Because last year he was second in Golden Boot,
and it made more sense. Like, it made more sense as quality-wise, because we all know Joyner is a better player than Betcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just needs experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what you look at right now, if you were to switch back to the regular roster construction of MLS and not the U22 initiative, you would gain one more designated player slot, right? So you would have Klaus not being a DP anymore, and you would have an extra one. So you have two designated player slots going into the off season, right? The winter. Mm-hmm. Then you can talk about serious revamps if they want to retool. And if Lutz and if the front office want to think about actually winning next year, then that's what you do. You'd go away from the U22. You probably sell off Joyner, right? And you get some extra money. And you go for 2 great designated players. The only reason I brought up Tom Booger and the report that he had, which is obviously satirical, is that a Bosnian reporter named Zlatan Brahamovic, reported on it as well, not referencing Tom, but referencing his agent, and not Tom's agent, the player's agent. I forget the name. What was his Miralem
Pranic.
Milian Pranic. And he had contact with him and posted about that today. My source from that was Dino on X. But I mean, it seems that it may have a tiny bit of ground, but I don't see it being super substantial. But the only reason I bring it up is because, Jeremy, we were just talking about before that Jake Girdwood-Wright could be that guy that feels like he's the puzzle piece that's not fitting right with this club. He's not getting a ton of play time right now. You just got Falou Fall as a CB when you've been playing JGR at CB almost, exclusively for the past 5 weeks now. Since Critch took over, he's been almost exclusively playing center back. Now you have Falou Fall, JGR, Josh Yarrow, Joachim Nilsson. You have Henry Kessler. You have Timo Baumgartel at center back, right? And Hazy Larosco is a natural center back. So that's a lot of center backs. Who are you going to get rid of, like in that group? Like who do you say goodbye to at the end of the season? And that's where the 17 players with club options becomes interesting, because they could go for a total revamp where they go rebuilding and they want to say, let's focus on young players and develop them and try to win in about 2 years. Or they could say, we're going to go to the designated player option, get 2 designated players at the end of the season, go away from the U22 initiative, because if you do that, you would have to get rid of JGR, which they've already talked about doing, right? Or there's been rumors that could be the route they take. And then you could go and compete next year. But they also had Roman Berkey in Malibu today with his agent apparently meeting with somebody. He posted on his Instagram story, just meetings was the caption, that he's probably in talks with an LA club in that sense, or someone in LA with connections. So it makes you think, what kind of club are we going to look at next season?
So one thing to call out on Berkey,
you're breaking everybody's hearts over there.
Well, no, hold on. One thing to call out about Berkey, his wife's Instagram. I think they're planning the wedding, because she posted a card of like welcome to him and his wife. So I could be wrong, but the venue and everything, that if you look at it at the setting, it could be wedding planning in California. Oh. That would make sense. As why the agent's there, I don't know, but that's part of this conversation. Is it wedding planning, or it could be, as you said, it could be MLS moves. Now the team for JGR, since we're talking about it, just to throw this out there, and I have not found, after scouring Twitter into the late morning hours last night, anything truly substantial, but there is a link that I had to translate from Hebrew using Google Translate, linking JGR, who is a Jewish player, to Maccabi Haifa in Israel. There's conversation amongst that fan base that they are linked to a player from MLS, and it's speculated that it is JGR, but I've not seen any substantial reports from anything credible. But that's some of the speculation, and that would be enough. Even if it's a loan, that would open up a roster spot from the senior roster. That's the key. It has to be someone from the senior roster that's moved out to make room for, whether it's Joyner or whether it's another player. And the other reason too that Joyner probably isn't called up is, once you sign him to that first team contract, he loses his homegrown status. So City's being very protective of these roster mechanisms, and maybe to a fault, but that's another partial reason that I could say. And as for Betcher, he's an affordable option. He's making like $160,000. I mean, you say you get what you're getting out of him. He gets in dangerous spots. He doesn't finish right now, but that to me is why you brought in Betcher. He's an affordable depth piece that has athleticism and flexibility. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. That's the option if you want to make a move right now. If you want to make a move in season, right? The transfer window goes until when?
August 24th.
August 24th. So you'd have 20 days. 20 days to make that move, because off season, I wouldn't worry about senior roster spots, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10 spots opening up with the club option. So I wouldn't worry about that in the offseason. But if you're going to see a JGR move, that would be substantial if it happened in the next 20 days. Because if it does, then you're saying, who do you add to senior roster? You could have a transfer in, or you could have a guy getting called up. Like we saw with Haziel Orozco, you could see maybe Brendan McSorley. Gabriel McKenna's been doing great with City 2. You look at Emil Jaskalainen as a striker option, maybe. Caden Glover's been doing great. There's a lot of opportunities here, and you could even go with a goalkeeper route, and you could say, let's go Colin Welsh or Nick Bishop, let's get them up, right? And you could say that that's the future rather than Lunton Berkey. Pardon me there, but I think that's what you see. I think it's either, if you're going to make a move in season, it's going to be JGR in the next 20 days. If not, someone else. If you're going to make a move in the next 20 days. If not, then you don't worry about it until the offseason, because you literally have every chance. It's like a video game. You could pick whoever you want to stay or say goodbye to whoever you want. 17 players with the club option.
Yeah, but you want to start building something right now. It's like that's the main purpose of using this part of the season that it doesn't matter for us, is to build for next year. So if you're gonna keep doing the same thing over and over again and not value the games that you have in hand right now, that they don't matter, that they don't have pressure, and you don't build a good squad, then we're gonna go to 2026 to try to build something from the ground again.
Yeah.
Getting 17 new players or 15 or 12, whatever the number will be, it's going to be another year and a half where we need to build something. And I don't think this fan base has another year and a half of crappy football.
Jeremy, do you think they buy a DP in the next 20 days?
In the next 20 days? No. I don't, because so they're not going to at this point, based on the moves in this window, I think you're locked into the U22 model through the end of the season. You don't go out and add Sangbin Jung and Falu Fall to be U22s if you're not going to keep this roster model. It doesn't make sense. Now, when it flips over, do you go back to the 3-3? Do you bring in 2 in the summer? Maybe, but I still don't know that they go back to that model. I think with the investment, if you look at the long term, so here's the thing: JGR, they've invested over $800,000 in him. So if he leaves, I still think it's on loan. I don't think it's a permanent transfer. So he has to come back. That's one U22. You would still have Sangbin on a U22 deal through the end of next season. So you've already have, and then you have Falu Fall. So you've got 3 already. So depending on what you do with Chris Durkin in the offseason, so Chris Durkin will lose his U22 status in the offseason. So if they bring him back, you're down to 3 U22s. That's when I think you see the potential flip is in the winter at the end of the season, if they're going to do it. We will see, because you have to think then you have the potential to add 2. One of those, does it have to be Berkey? Would you have to make Berkey a DP again, or will he stay as a TAM player? But I think if you're going to see a roster model change, it's in the winter.
I think you have to make he'll be 36 next year, Berkey.
Berkey, he's in the mid 30s. I don't know his exact age.
I think if you'll have to make a good goalkeeper, a great goalkeeper, but an aging goalkeeper, a designated player when you already have invested so much in your back line, I don't think that's a smart move. Because you look at the moves they did, right? They signed Haziel Orozco to the first team contract, right? They got Falu Fall, right? They've already shown that they want to solidify the back line because it's been shaky ever since Melberg left. And since Melberg, like in the middle of Melberg's tenure, it started to be shaky, right? I think, I don't know, in my opinion, your best back line is a back 5. I think because I want to see Kessler and Baumgartel and Falu Fall as a 3 center back, because it's just tough to pick 2 out of those 3, because Kessler and Baumgartel are such similar players in the way they play, and they're both just such quality players that it's tough to pick one over the other. So I think a back 5 would be your best idea next year, with those 3 guys being your center backs. You look at Haziel Orozco, or if you pick up the loan of Devin Padelford, then you have your left back there, and then you either see Totland or maybe a Tyson Pierce if you call him up, right? So I think your back line is what they've said, we got this, right? But now the offense is the question. Teukert, Klaus, Sangbin, Jande Silva, Rasmus All, they're all on club options. Miggy Perez, Jaden Reed, Akil Watts, Joey Zielinski. They're all on club options. So now this is a chance. Do you let some of those guys go? I doubt they let Sang Bin go after they traded for him, right?
No,
so,
he's here. Yeah.
So you have a definite offense of the following players, right? You have Celio Pompeu and you have Sang Bin. Those are the only players, and Marcel Hartel. Those are the only players that don't have club options and that could leave, right? Makai Joyner, he could get called up, but I'm not going to say that he's going to be in the offense there. But Sang Bin, Celio, and Hartel are the only guys that are guaranteed coming back unless they get transferred, right? So that's a point where you look at, do you re-sign Klaus? Do you go back to the well and get Jande again? I doubt it, but do you go and say, well, Toikert's been lackluster. Do we go get a DP instead of him, right? So that's the point where you see those designated player slots coming in really handy, because you could fully revamp the attack, because it could look so much different this time next year. August 4th, 2026, the offense could look extremely different, and I think it will.
Well, I think it depends on where or how you use those DP spots, right? Like, so when the club, if you think about just going back in history, right? When we started as a club, it was Leuven, Berkey, and Klaus. Those were the original 3 designated players we had. We had to buy down Leuven to bring in Hartle. Then we bought down Berkey so that we could switch roster models and become a 2DP 4U22 roster model. But we've also got all these guys on max TAM deals. That to me is where part of the challenge of this really is. We can figure out and speculate what we want to do with the DP spots. I think if you're going to bring in a DP, we've already got one in the midfield. If you're going to bring in another DP and it's not Berkey as a keeper, which I really don't like the idea of using a DP slot on a keeper.
Yeah,
I'm fine staying at a 2 DP model. You've got to bring in a DP goal scorer who is a consistent goal scorer. That is the biggest issue with this team. And maybe bring in another DP creative winger too. We've got to get creative in the final third. We've got to get more of that.
When I think when you and I say, Jeremy, when we both say a true goal scorer, I'm not talking about a Jande Silva. I'm talking about a Buwanga. I'm talking about a 2023 Lucho Acosta. I'm talking about a Chucho Arango. I'm talking about guys that can actually make differences and score on a game-to-game basis, right?
We're going to see 2 of them this weekend. And Sam Sturridge and then Hani Mukhtar. Those are your goal scorers. That's what we want in the attack, or at least what I'm looking for when I say DP attacker.
Yeah, I don't think, of course, Marcel Hartel's been instrumental to this team. He's had the most touches, the most passes, the most minutes, almost any counting stat that equates to playing time and consistency.
Wait, who you said that?
Pardon?
Who?
Marcel Hartel. Nice. So that, of course, he's been instrumental, but still not what you want from an attacking midfielder DP, right? I think most would prefer that he maybe be a little bit more instrumental. Of course, the team hasn't scored enough in general, but if the team's scoring more and he's not, then you start to worry, right?
So I think we do need someone. I'm not as concerned. Like, obviously we would love to have a goal scorer like the ones that you guys just mentioned. But I think if you bring a very high quality player that helps Hartel to build up the play, we will be just fine. Because what we lack is on creating plays that they're dangerous in the final touch. We create plays to the point that we can create shots, but those shots are not dangerous or they're not in dangerous positions. So if we get that extra person that can create that extra thing, a better pass, a better clear ball to a forward, I think our forwards will start scoring more with the ones we have. Klaus, Poitshert, Sam Bing, Celio, I think they would score more. Even like Hartel would score more because takes that pressure of like creating and doing that much that he doesn't have it. When Lewin's in the field, Lewin helps a lot on that end. And you've seen the best results of Lewin and Hartel creating a little bit of better chances. But Lewin starts too far on the back. We need someone else that creates that opportunities higher in the field.
For sure.
So, so I want to ask you a question, Charlie, because you said something interesting. You said, if I heard this right, you want to switch to back to a 5-back system. Is that what I heard? Or a 3, whatever you want to call it?
I would say, yeah, 5-back.
So you want to run? So do you want to run like a 5-3-2, or what is your Because it's interesting because I know we had that system under Olaf, and he couldn't run it in a way that got us solid at both ends. So I'm curious where your thought process and why you think that we have the roster to do that, or how you put that together.
Well, if you can get a real striker that can, a striker that can score 20 goals a season, I'd go 5-2-2-1.
Okay.
I think that's the most. I think because you like to keep the two defensive midfielders together. You've seen Ostrak and Valum, you've seen JGR and Ostrak, you've seen Leuven in there too. But it gives you an opportunity, and then you can have a central attacking midfielder you can have your striker, right? And then you can have two of the wingers, right? And Mackay could slot in at the right wing very well. You could see Celio Pompeu slot in there. You could see Sang Bin go there. But I see it being a back line of from left to right being Haziel Orozco, Falun Fall, Henry Kessler, Timo Baumgartel, Henry Kessler, and then Thomas Totland at the right side, the right back position. And then your two defensive midfielders being Ostrak and Valum. And then you have Celio and Sang Bin. And then right now I would go with Klaus. Hartel would I think Hartel would actually slot in instead of Celio in that situation.
So is that if we run that today, or are you thinking we buy or we pick up the option to purchase Valum?
If you run that today,
okay.
I think in a perfect world, you're looking at, of course, your back five being the same as I just said. Next season, I think you'd hope you get and I think Ostrak could probably stay. Valum is a buy option, so I'm not going to say Valum there. You have a slot open in the defensive midfield. JGR is uncertain. You have a lot of club options there. And also Leuven, I think, can slot in there. So I'd say Ostrak, Leuven. And then from left to right, I'd go Hartel, your new striker, and then either Sang Bin or if you keep Toykert, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about Toykert, and this is the reason that I thought we would, if we were going to try to move him on, it would be now. So his contract is only for half of next season. His contract ends at the midpoint of next season. We have an option for the back half of the season. But yeah, so that is why I thought if we were going to move Toykert, it'd be now, because he has technically a full year left on his deal. I'm going to be curious to see, we just heavily invested in Falun Fall. We know we have a guaranteed option for Nilsson unless we buy him out. I would love it if we would. I guess the question I have is, do you think, given the investment in Kessler, given what we've seen Orozco able to do and the fact that he's substantially cheaper than a lot of guys, and Baumgartel is under contract for next season, he's got a guaranteed option. So my question is, do we really re-up with Kessler? I'm not against it, but that's a big decision that's going to be made in the offseason.
I think if I'm the sporting director, I say yes, and I say I'd give him near a blank check. I think Henry Kessler has been consistently your most defensively sound center back when he's healthy. Mm-hmm. I think when he's healthy, he's your best center back. You just look, he doesn't foul a ton. He is a guy that can make those long progressive passes like Falun Fall. And he's a big frame too. And you look, he's not necessarily old, right? He's 27. He'll be turning 28 next year, June 25th. I think he's a guy that you want to keep around, not only for his play, but to have a guy in the locker room, to have that kind. I think I see Henry Kessler as a leader. And I see him as a piece of a core going forward. And to go back to the formation thing, I think you could also look at a 5-2-1-2 with that one attacking midfielder being either Hartel or Leuven in that space, because I think Leuven in his regular role, he's almost just a regular midfielder, and I think we see him playing defense a little too much. Yeah, I mean, Romo, sure, he's injury prone, saying today, in hindsight's 2020, but he has a great market value right now, even with the injury. He didn't really have any injury history with New England. He's had some trouble this season, the real question is it his fault or is it someone else's fault? I don't know about that, but I think Kessler, if you're going to talk about injury-prone center backs, you don't talk about Kessler, and you talk about Kyle Hebert, and you talk about Joachim Nielsen and Josh Yarrow. I think those are guys that are more injury-prone than Henry Kessler, and I'd say even 25 games of Henry Kessler is worth it for his current salary of $1.4 million. And I think I'll say that confidently. I think 25 games of Henry Kessler for that price tag is better than 34 games of another center back.
And
wow,
maybe
I disagree with a lot of those.
No, go ahead, Oscar.
Yarrow doesn't get hurt, first of all. He has had maybe 2 injuries in 3 years, and one of those were blow in the head.
Yeah.
So that's that. Second, I would say Kessler is a great center back, yes, but in my opinion, and seeing the way that we did business, I would have kept Parker a lot more than bringing Kessler. Parker got hurt once in the 2 years he was with us, and he was a leader. He was definitely pardon me my language, but a shit starter on the field. He will protect your players. He was all up in everybody's faces when he needed to be. And we don't have that right now. And Kessler, I mean, you have to have him in the field to enjoy his quality, but also like you paying a lot of money. You didn't want to pay Parker because you thought it was not gonna give you anything this year. Well, Kessler hasn't done anything. Like he gave you what five games when we have a shutout, and then we're done.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah. So
let's be realistic on that end.
So I think let's dive into Kess for just a second. So Kessler's he's had 9 starts this season. I think a total of 11 appearances, 868 minutes played. So yes, he was a part of that great start in the defensive start to the season. But looking at his injury history on Transfermarkt, if I look at his injury history, he's missed. And this can't be up to date for his current injury. But just looking prior to his time in St. Louis, he had 2 games missed with New England in 23-24, so in that season. He did have one long stretch where he was out for 180 days, missing 30 games with a muscle injury in 2023. So he basically missed most of the 2023 season with New England. That was the longest and only real big injury stretch of his career. So he has been relatively healthy outside of that, but for a guy making over almost $1.5 million, you've got to get the guy on the field. I said it in the chat. I'll say it here. The most important statistic that we have to get to getting is availability. We can talk about, okay, he's a shit starter. Oh, okay, he's a lockdown center back. Oh, he's a force in the back line. Oh, he puts it in the net. Oh, he creates chances. None of that is possible if they can't get on the pitch. And that's unfortunately the thing we've seen with 2 of our biggest expenditures in terms of guaranteed contract money this year in Kessler and Nilsson. Neither of them can get on the pitch. That's why Yarrow and Hebert are among the most capped players this season. Hebert's capped in 19, Yarrow in 18. So, like, that's the biggest thing for me is availability at this point.
I think if the front office does what it should do with the way they've managed injuries and the direct contact with that injury. That's kind of a vague statement, but I think if they make that decision and depart from the current situation they're in, I don't think it's a problem next year. That's what I'll say. And I think on that note, I think it's a good time. We talk about true goal scorers. There's one in the town, in the city of music, right? Is that what they call Nashville?
Music City, something like that.
Music City. St. Louis City SC will take on Nashville in St. Louis, Energizer Park, the 8th of August. That's this Saturday. It will be at 7:30. What do we think about this? Nashville currently sits third in the Eastern Conference with 47 points. St. Louis, 18. So more than double the point total of St. Louis. Let's look at the stats real quick that Jeremy put together. You look at the top left, the points extremely in Nashville's favor. They've won 14 games. City has lost 14 games, okay? You look at the goals scored. They're basically flipped. If you flip the goals scored and against, you get Nashville's, right? Nashville has true goal scorers on their team, and they have a competent back line. That's why they have been, have the, I believe, the second highest goal differential in the league, only behind Philadelphia, who actually leads supporter shield races, the race right now. If you look at the team comparison, goals scored, City is 27th, Nashville is 9th, goals conceded, City is 23rd, Nashville is 3rd, average open play expected goals, City is 20th, average open play expected goals for Nashville is their 12th, but Nashville, I think, has the most penalties scored, so they draw a lot of penalties from what I've seen from Nashville. I think, let me look at their squad stats again. I think they have the most penalties drawn as of right now.
Well, Charlie's looking that up. Just run down a couple other things too. Their PPDA, their passes per defensive action, it reflects how much they might press or how much they try to get into your face and disrupt play. How many passes are allowed before the first defensive action? Nashville 14th rather. We are 25th, and that's in large part due to the improvement in our pressing under David Critchley. One other thing I thought was interesting too, Charlie, and unfortunately I ran out of time trying to put this together as well. Nashville is actually, they have overperformed their expected points on the season. We have underperformed ours. Nashville has 47 points on the season. Their expected points is 45. So they're somehow overperforming their expected points. City, again, much to the flip side of that, we are on 18 points. Our expected points are 31. So quick math tells you we have left 13 points on the table, which, by the way, that isn't surprising given the fact that we've dropped 18 points from leading positions, 10 points dropped at home from leading positions. So you kind of see the tale of our season really comes back to all of those games that we gave away points. But Nashville overperforming. Did you find what you were looking for on that stat?
I think part of the reason they have such a good and they've performed their expected points is they lead the league in penalty attempts and they lead the league in penalty kicks made. 7 penalties made. Second is Colorado Rapids, LAFC, and New York Red Bulls, all with 6. For reference, St. Louis, 3 penalty kicks made this season. So 4 more penalty goals for Nashville. They know how to be cheeky and draw fouls within the final third. Their numbers within the final third are impeccable. They are one of the best shooting teams in the league. You look at shots on target per 90, they're 3rd in the league. Shots total per 90, they're also up there right in front of St. Louis. You look at goals in general, they have 41. That puts them in the top half of the league for there. And you look at, even shots from free kicks, right? They're in the top half of the league in that. Passing numbers, their passing is above average. Their pass types, their live passes are great. Their in-swing and corner kick numbers are superb. Their outswing and corner kick numbers are superb. They're drawing fouls. They're passing well. They're shooting well. And they're just an overall amazing team. Defensively, I think is the place where you could maybe make a case that you have a chance to beat them there. But it's definitely not a place where you could say as like a weak point. I would say that is probably the weakest, but is it necessarily weak? I don't think so, because they're just made to look at goals allowed, and they're towards the bottom in goals allowed. They have 26, which is tied for the second least amount of goals allowed, and that's a lot of that is contributed to by Joe Willis, goalkeeper for Nashville. Their other goalkeeper being Brian Schwake. So Nashville, obviously on paper, the better team. If we look at what fans on SofaScore think, 15% of people, this is 566 votes, 15% of people think City will win, 7% of people say it will be a draw, and 78% of people say Nashville will take the win. What do we think, guys? What's our predictions?
So before we jump to predictions, and Oscar, I'll let you jump in, I do want to give a little bit more preview here, just run through some names. The folks who don't know the teams, don't know Nashville, we might know them because we follow the league, but I also want to tell you a little bit about what each team has done lately. So we mentioned earlier in the night, both teams played Aston Villa in a friendly. That's the most recent game each team has played. We dropped it 2-1. Nashville 2-2. That's their last game. Again, on the pitch. Before that, though, in league play, in their last 5, Nashville has 3 wins and 2 losses in their last 5. Their wins were over Philadelphia, Columbus, and Toronto. Their losses were at home versus Inter Miami, and they lost on the road to San Diego. Some names to look for from the Nashville side. We've dropped them a few different times. Their leading goal contribution guys are Sam Surridge and Hani Mukhtar. Surridge has 21. Mukhtar has 16 on the season. They also have a fantastic wingback in Andy Nahar. That's why they moved on one of their players earlier in the season. I forget his name. It escapes me. But Andy Nahar has really come on for Nashville. He has 8 goal contributions as a wingback. Their goal leaders, Surridge with 18 goals, Mukhtar has 11. And again, Nahar, I mentioned his effectiveness. He has 7 assists to lead the way for the visitors. And Charlie, you mentioned Joe Willis. Joe Willis, 9 clean sheets and 25 starts for Nashville, 1.04 goals allowed per 90. So, and just again, this will be the second time only we've ever played Nashville. We played them in our inaugural season back in June of 2023, a game that featured a hat trick, including a penalty from Hani Mukhtar in a game that City lost 3-1. The goal from that in that game from City, scored by Nico Giacchini, also featured a sending off of Kyle Hebert, who had gotten 2 yellow cards in that affair. So, yeah, as you said, there's a lot of reasons to think about Nashville, high-powered attack compared to us. Marcel Hartl, João Klaus are joint leaders in goal contributions with 7. In terms of assists, Hartl has 3, Celio has 2, and no one else has more than 1. So it's going to be a test for this defense, this team that's getting healthier. And, yeah, I don't know, Oscar, what are your thoughts before we get into predictions?
I mean, they're a good, solid team. They know how to attack. They know how to create problems in the back. They force mistakes. They force PK. So that's why they're what they are. On the back, they seem solid. They have experience in the back, and they have 2 wingbacks or fullbacks that provide assists and goals too. So they're a complete team. They have a good coach. That's a big difference from what we started this season. Funny to mention that I think at the same time that we were out of a coach last year, and we went for a Hackworth to take the last games of the season. I believe BJ Callahan was announced as coach of Nashville for the following year. So, hey, welcome to MLS and knowing how to sign good coaches correctly. That's how you do it. They should reach out to Nashville and see how things are done, because they reach out for a coach before even the season was over. I know BJ Callahan didn't take the reins until the beginning of the season, but when he was announced, I'm pretty sure he started talking to the players and start talking to the club and start making decisions of what the next year was going to be. The start of the season wasn't the greatest for Nashville, but look what they are now. Because you have a solid plan with a coach, and that's what I've been telling you guys when we come over here and say, like, we need a plan, we need a project, we need something to look forward for the next year. And we are 3 months into all of this mess. We have no project, we have no plan, we have nothing. We are just having wishes of how to do things, or we have the wishes like, hey, let's play the younglings. We should be taking advantage of that. Like, we don't have a plan. So, like, if we do this right now, and that's one thing I was gonna say with the ideas of like playing all the young ones. It's like, what if we do that, right? And everybody's like, okay, well, at least they're giving time to them. And we play for 4 more months or whatever it is left on the season. But it doesn't really work out. Then at the end of the year, you're going to say, like, well, they didn't do well. And they're going to start trashing them. They're going to say, like, well, the younglings are not ready. The youngs are not so and so and so. And we start from zero again, because you're going to have to make a new plan. That's an issue.
Well,
so you don't want to screw your young players when you have a bad project like the one we have. So I trust me, I would love to see the young players play and have a lot of minutes, but with the way we attempt to the matches, there's not gonna be the best for them. Because at the end of the day, we are a very ungrateful fan base that at the moment something goes out, we dig him in a hole.
Yeah.
It has happened to a lot of players that the moment they made a mistake, they just get trashed. Do you want the young players to get trashed? No. But guess what? One of them is already being trashed in the past 2 games. And he has 4 games in the first team.
Yeah. I think for me, it's an outmatch. It's outmatched. Nashville, you don't need, I mean, this graphic shows it, but I don't think you need the graphic to know that Nashville is a better team.
It is. I mean, and they have a more quality. Like, I mean, you got to see, you have Sturridge that has 18 goals, and you have Hani Mukhtar that has 11. With those two players, you already have almost 30 goals scored without counting the assists.
Mm-hmm.
And our 2 top players don't get to 10.
Yeah.
Well, so guys, I think that right there is the difference in mentality of approach. Because if you look at Nashville, Sturridge and Mukhtar are their only goal scorers that have more than 2 goals. We believe in goals by committee. Everybody needs to have goals. So we don't have that. We're not going to have that. I guess the question I'm trying to get to asking is that proof that their model is better than ours? Would we be in better shape if we had one guy who said, you know what, everybody else does everything. Your job is to just stay up there and put it in the net. Would that make us a better team? Or get us better results, I guess, is really what it comes down to.
Look at the teams that are on top. Do everybody score goals? I'll tell you, Philly has a guy that scored 15 goals. The next one in their squad has 4, the other striker. If I go to Cincinnati, you have Evander that scored 15. The next one has 5. Nashville, we're going through. Columbus Rosie has 12. and Russell Rowe has 7. So you don't have ever in a top team everybody with 3, everybody with 4. No, because you don't play to that. You don't play to whoever scores the goal. No, you play to have your best player score goals. That's what you do.
Yeah, for
Go
sure.
to that lovely Inter Miami, who
We
has the
shall
most.
see. So I think we can all say that City is the underdogs coming into this match. I think underdogs may be an understatement, frankly. But I mean, this has been a great show. We're trying to keep them near an hour. We just hit that hour mark. Just closing remarks. I think we talked a lot about rumors. We talked a lot about the roster. Should be an interesting game. I'll be there in the press box. I'm sure you two will be there in the stands cheering until you lose your voice, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I mean, Apple TV, MLS Season Pass. It's where you can watch the match on Saturday. Anything else?
I think I do want to say one thing real quick, and because I think we can tie this into the conversation from Nashville. One thing I noticed that really stuck out to me at the end of that game against Villa, and I know it didn't matter about the standings. I know the results didn't matter, but it felt like there was such a much different response at the end of that game from the fans. It like there was, despite the loss, it felt like them going out there and actually trying to compete with a Premier League team. A lot of the fans seemed to appreciate that. And I bring that up to say, even if we go out to Energizer Park and let's say it's a 3-1 frustrating game, I'm not saying we have to be rah-rah. I'm not saying you can't boo. I'm not saying you can't voice your displeasure. But all I'm saying is I want to see that same fight and that same energy that a lot of those second team guys brought. Because if you see it, I do think St. Louis, at least in the supporters section, we will at least appreciate it regardless of the scoreline. I could be off the mark, but that's what I want to see. Just give me a fearless, ferocious effort on Saturday and compete for 90 minutes. Not 45, not 60, not 70. Don't stop for 90 minutes. That's what I want from this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to you can play, and there's ways to you can lose games. And I mean, I think since Critchley has been in charge, the only one that we haven't seen a fight was Dallas. I don't think the other performances have been bad, and like attitude hasn't been bad. But the issue is what you said is we have to play for 90 minutes, not just give everything for 90 minutes. We still have to play. We still have to make sure like we attack, we put in awkward positions that to the other team, because if we the moment like we score a goal, like we think like we're done, or like we take like a safeguard on our games, and that's when we give the other teams options. Like I mean, obviously it happened to me against Minnesota. Um, yeah, the fight, and fans will get on board when you're playing and you're trying. I would say that the one against Aston Villa wasn't just because they were trying. It was because I mean it was a friendly. Everybody was going there to have fun. Like we were taking a little break of like we know if even if we lose 10-0, it's not gonna mean anything to us. Um, and having that goal pumped a lot of people because it's like, hey, we score against a Premier League team. Like fun, like all that, and brought joy and energy to the building that it ended up being good at the end of the game, because at least they were on the front foot trying to do something. Even though like they keep doing the routine of going around the stadium and going last in or in, but I think like they saw a little bit more of like, hey, it was a friendly, we tried, like we did such and such. There were some more players, and I'm not saying this because I got a shirt or anything like that, but it was more players that actually got involved and tried to give things out in the supporters section side. I think no, Berkey was the last game, I think. But anyways, like they approached a little bit better. I think this time Orozco came in, Maxori came in, obviously Hartel that I mentioned came in at all closer, but it just lacks of that little point of, I mean, we gotta win games to actually create a connection together, because that we keep saying that, and they're not gonna come closer to us if they're not winning games. So that's obvious.
Yeah, for sure. I think with that, I think we're good to finish this one up. Tomorrow night, City 2 Talk. I'll be there, 7 p.m. Make sure you tune in. 45 minutes, one half. Bet the time most City players can play a game. That's how long I'll be on live tomorrow night at 7. Make sure you tune in for that. Thank you for tuning in to Top Corner Talk. I'm Charlie Billiou. We got Oscar Rojas and Jeremy Clements coming to you every Monday at 9. Make sure you tune in next week. Have a good one. Adios.